immediately on other devices. So this can be used as a basis for a simple multi-user app. Okay.
Okay.
That's
Thank you
all.
very much, Mikko.
Yeah, and yeah, we will share the source code later, and then people can use that as a basis and use their own content, for example. Any questions?
So, are there any questions to Mikko?
Mikko, what sorts of 3D models does your demo support?
Well, basically, you create the content in Unity, so you will have to import the model there. So I guess it supports various formats.
Sure.
Yeah.
STL, OBJ,
yeah,
FBX.
Something like that. I don't work with the
FBX.
FBX is the answer.
Mikko, can you bring to the back for app a bunch of points, like let's say a batch of points or a URL?
Excuse me?
Can you bring to the you demoed the last two, you created a point on the back for app
Yes
portal. Can you bring a batch of points, not just one by one, or can you bring a URL or something like that?
Yeah, I guess there's some kind of an API. Oh, well, you can just write a script that inserts data into the database. But you need to have a connection, so the demo app is using this parse client to connect to the database.
So there's a question, and I think maybe Jan-Erik just answered that one, but I may repeat it because it's probably a question to sort out everything. Thank you, Mikko. For workflow, we would need to scan the environment and then add geolocated content, or can we just upload content if we know the coordinates? So for localization, you need to scan. You need to have a map in whatever application. There has to be a map. It should be brought into some of the systems like Augmented City, Immersal, or any else.
No, the order doesn't really matter. You can actually place content before mapping an area, and then when you actually map the area, you will get the geopose, and then it will know what content to show.
And in the back end, in the admin, you showed you entered geolocations. So if you have some content uploaded, you can, and you know the geolocation, it's possible to use it later as a localized content.
Yes, but yeah, I don't know what happened in my demo, but there was supposed to be a fourth box there, but maybe it was too low, like below the floor or something. But
okay, so yeah, it was the fifth number in that might be different in the room. So you demonstrate this in indoor because probably it's late at your place, and you wouldn't like to go outside with a live demo. But what would change to do it? What would be different for an outdoor? The process would be the same.
Well, basically, because this demo app is limited to 40 images for speed reasons, for an outdoor space, I would use our other app, which is on the App and Play Store, Immersal Mapper. That can be, it's more like a professional tool for professional users. So with that, you can map larger areas and also stitch the maps together and align them. And
now I've got this on running on my PC, same thing, okay?
What?
I don't know.
Anyway, so
okay.
If you use the Mapper app and use the same credentials, then these bigger maps are also available in the demo app. So for an outdoor space, I would probably map the area with something else than this automatic mapper. This is more like for a room scale things.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt, but yeah, so we're now scheduled for a short break to get back at. So it's 5 minutes, so it would be 10 to the hour, 10 minutes to the hour. So we'll just take a short break and we'll be back with some announcement. Then we will have the breakout sessions with where we have to find some solution to who will go where and to bring everybody in the right breakout session.
So can you hear me? Yeah, I just want to say one thing. I'm going to reiterate one more time for anybody that came to this session late. If you are interested in going to a breakout session and trying out the code, please register on our website just so we can get you all the information that you need. So I'm putting the link in the chat right now. Oops, I sent that to one person privately. There you go. So anyone that hasn't registered and wants to get access to everything, please please register so we can get you set up. And I put sorry, I did that too fast and there's a error. It's 2021. So I don't think I can delete that. Corrected.
Okay, I just noticed that I copy pasted the wrong map ID to the row. That's why it wasn't showing up.
You know, when it's live, it's so easy to do.
Okay.
It was great, Miko. You did a good
I
job.
believe you, Miko, 100%.
Yeah.
I
See
can-
you all
Hey,
in 5
were
minutes.
you,
At this
were
break.
you, if you weren't present for session one of my slides was keep an open mind and an attitude of experimentation.
Yeah. Okay. See you in some minutes.
See you.
happy to have you.
Thank you, Susan. We're thrilled to be here as well. We're super excited about working with you guys and with the OSCP, and there's, I think, lots of opportunity for synergy, and so we're totally on board. I do have some slides which I might take us through, if that's okay with you guys, and we'll just fire through them really. Let me just see if you got the slides.
Yep.
Great. Cool. Yeah. So I'm Connell. I'm the CTO at Zapper. Thought I'd start with just a quick introduction to Zapper, and then talk about some of the relevant products that we have at Zapper. I'll maybe try a very quick live demo, and then we can talk a little bit about the synergy that we're thinking about with OpenAR Cloud, in particular with regards to the Open Spatial Computing Platform. And as Susan has mentioned, we're really just at the start of our partnership. And so we're looking forward to seeing exactly how we can integrate our tools and make some really useful workflows for developing content targeting spatial computing. So at Zapper, yes, we've just turned 10 years old. I think the very first mobile phone that we ported our content to or our platform to was the Nexus 1 on Android back in the day, and the iPhone 3GS. So it's been quite a journey since then. We have two parts to our business at Zapper. We have our HQ team who consult with and build augmented reality experiences for some of the world's biggest brands and companies. And then we have our content platform called ZapWorks, and that enables many thousands of developers around the world to build and deploy AR content for their clients. And indeed, it was out of the necessity of our creative services work and team. It was out of their requirements that we originally built ZapWorks maybe 5 years ago now, I suppose. And since then, it's been a platform that's been constantly evolving and that we've been exposing externally for users to build content of their own. So we have a number of different parts to our platform at Zapper. I think the two that are kind of most interesting in this context are our studio tool. So it's a complete 3D development environment for AR content, also VR and MR content. And what it is a creative tool, and it's a bit like a combination between Adobe Flash and Unity, like halfway between. So it's a fully 3D development environment. You just drag your assets in, you can script your content, you can animate your content in there, and you can publish it really quickly for then deployment directly to users on their phones. And that content is published instantly, so users can access it straight away, and they can do so either through one of our apps, so the Zapper app, for example, running on your phone, or into our technology embedded into a different app. Or indeed, increasingly, you can access this content through your mobile web browser, so without having to install an app at all. And then we have our Universal AR tool or product, which is effectively a set of SDKs that take our underlying computer vision technologies and make them available for use in other creative tools. I would say, I suppose, sister tools to Studio. And we'll talk a little bit about that just here. Because I think it's easiest to show with this rather complex diagram, but we'll talk through it. So effectively, Universal AR lets you build AR experiences, and you can build experiences that are tracked to an image. So if you wanted to bring a poster to life or a business card to life, track to a face. So if you're building like a face filter that tracks your head, and we can attach content to the landmarks on your face, like a mustache, not that I need a mustache, but a mustache could go on your top lip, or you could just apply a helmet to your head. We also have the ability to attach content directly onto the surface of your face, so with a mesh that like fits the face, so you can do things like face paint or tattoo simulation, or potentially even makeup and these sorts of things. So there's interesting facially tracked possibilities. Then we have world tracking, which is the type of tracking you get with ARKit and ARCore, where it will let you place content into the environment around you. And I think this is particularly interesting with regards to the OSCP. So I'll talk about that a little bit towards the end. With Universal AR, we provide these technologies wrapped up as SDKs for creative tooling. So if you're building an app, you could use our SDK with Unity. If you are building for the web, you can use 3JS or A-Frame or JavaScript. We have SDKs targeting each of these content platforms. So 3JS, for example, is a JavaScript library for the web that wraps around WebGL and makes a really nice, it's a really nice API and library for building 3D content for the web. And with our SDK for 3JS, the SDK exposes all of those tracking types in a really nice way that fits within the 3JS ecosystem. So we provide a group or an object 3D in 3JS language that you can just add to your scene for an image tracker, for example, and then you add your content into that. And developers who've used 3JS in the past will understand, and it will work together. The most important thing I think about Universal AR is the breadth of support for deployment. So if you're building content with Unity, then you could deploy to iOS and Android just by selecting the iOS and Android build targets in Unity. But I think the most important thing for Universal AR is all of these tracking algorithms and all of our computer vision technology works on the web and works in web browsers already running on your users' phones. So versions of Chrome for Android for years and versions of iOS Safari since, I think, 11.3. So the versions, you don't have to enable any special flags or anything like that in these browsers. The technology just works there. It uses the APIs that are just part of the browser already, like the webcam, get user media API, etc. And so it means for Unity, you can build content in Unity using our tracking SDK, our libraries, and then you can use Unity's WebGL build output and produce a website that you can then host so that users can access your Unity built content, have a complete AR experience in their web browser without having to download an app, which is kind of interesting. I think I got a little bit ahead of myself and just basically said everything that this slide says in the previous slide. The one thing to mention, I suppose, that this slide does is we don't use WebXR. So we use our own computer vision algorithms, and we're running in WebAssembly, and we're processing camera frames as they come in and using the device motion data that we get in order to support this. And it gives us some flexibility. So it means that we can run it on devices that don't have WebXR provided. So for example, Android on devices that aren't Google Android, for example, in China, or just where the device doesn't support the underlying technology, AR Core, that backs WebXR. And we're able to support web browsers that don't specifically provide an implementation of WebXR. We also get access to the camera data and other elements which mean we can do a little bit more with that environment than is possible with WebXR as well. So we spoke a little bit about the tracking types. World tracking, I thought, is one that I could just give you just a very quick demo of to show you how that works. Our world tracking at the moment lets you place content into an environment around you and track that frame to frame and in real time and at full frame rate. At the moment, our world tracking for the web isn't scale accurate. So content is placed and the scale is arbitrarily chosen by the user. But that's something that we're working on at the moment. And indeed, we have a big update to our world tracking that's just around the corner. So that will be interesting to share with you. But for the interest of time, I thought I'd give you a quick demo. So let me see if I can switch to showing my phone. So I've got my phone attached to my computer just by a cable, just for the purposes of being able to show you what it sees. There we go, and I'll switch the screen share if I can find the doodah. One sec. Don't need that. Cool. Hopefully you can see that. Let me know if you can't. And I have some content. I'm just going to demo it through the web browser. So I have some QR codes here. This is an experience that will be instant tracked or world tracked. So if I scan this QR code, opens up in Safari, loads that content. I'm just going to turn around and look into my not very well lit room, I'm afraid, with some dog paraphernalia in the background. So please ignore that. But in this case, it's a 3D model. It's asking me to choose a location to track it from. I'm just going to place it on my carpet out here. So tap to place. And then from that point on,
Oh no,
this.
I think I'm only seeing the start screen of the phone. I don't know if this
Oh, okay.
It came on now. It came.
it came
came-
on just now. It
Is there?
Also, you might want to turn your background off if you want us to see your
Oh, I
space.
see. No worries. I think hopefully this will
Okay.
will give it away. I'm still here.
yeah, now it's running. It's working.
Cool. Oh, and the screen of the phone is now turned off. No worries. I'll bring that back to life. Okay, here we go. Let me refresh the page and just we'll be good to go. Yeah, so I can choose a location to place it. I tap to place, and then this content is tracked in 3D space. Now, so we're running in a web browser here. It might not come across on the Zoom, but it's full frame rate for me. So full 30 frames per second feels really smooth on the device. Because what we don't want is, if we're targeting something like the web browser, we don't want an experience that is feels inferior to a native app or something like that. Users are going to have their expectations set by what's possible in native apps. So let's go for options that don't involve any compromise in that regard. And so that for us is why it's really important to get full frame rate out of the web. Cool. So just because of time, I'll go straight back to the presentation. Mentioned image tracking already. So also part of the SDK, and indeed face tracking. And these are all presented as part of a single SDK. So if you're building a content experience, you can mix and match these pieces these types of tracking. So you could have a AR experience where you have a butterfly that starts on your business card and then like flaps its wings and flies up and then circles around your room and then perhaps lands on your face. So as a content developer, they're all integrated, all one part of the SDK. They all kind of speak the same language. Cool. So at Zapper, we provide a hosting and publishing platform for AR in addition to these low-level tools. You can upload your content directly into ZapWorks, and it will take care of hosting it for you. And that might be content built with our studio tool, or it might be content built using our universal AR SDK that's a web page effectively. And so you can upload those into ZapWorks. They'll host it. We'll handle some analytics if you wish to use analytics. And from there, you can you can provision QR codes that point to your content, or deep links, or lots of different ways that let your users access that content. And we also allow people to self-host content should they wish. And there's various possibilities for how that works. So finally, I thought I would talk a little bit about ZapWorks, and particularly how it could work with the Open Spatial Computing platform. And so we've done a little bit of thinking around this, and I should say, because we're just at the start of our partnership, these options aren't set in stone yet, but we think these are some really interesting opportunities for us, and to support the ecosystem and to enable people to build great content for the Open Spatial Computing platform. And so the first option we thought was that ZapWorks could become a provider for the spatial discovery service and indeed the content discovery service. And so what that would mean is we, I suppose, provide, I suppose, a peer in that network. So users will be able to register content with the service, the servers that we provide as part of that network. And we would imagine that in the future, you could publish content through ZapWorks to a specific location in space. So you could say, in addition to provisioning a QR code for your content, you could say, actually, I also want to place it into this physical location in space. So we think that's a really interesting option. So our universal AR SDKs could be leveraged by client applications to support millimeter accurate tracking of images and the world initialized from GeoPose. So as we saw earlier in the session, the localization systems that send images up to the server and give us a great world relative pose, if you like. So from anywhere in the world, it tells you exactly here.